reason that I think NAR country is so unique is it's you actually applying the peak performance aging science, right? What does that look like in real life? And then now we've been able to take that to the masses, right, in the actual course and see what does this look like when people actually do it in the real world. And it's the answer is I think some pretty amazing things can happen in the second half of your life. So I also love how you just kind of one by one challenge some of those big myths around aging and just completely dispel them. So one of them you just talked about was you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So in our country, you call complete BS on that. So can you talk a little bit more about just how critical do you think it is to fight that tendency that we tend to have as we get older, that we should just stick with what we know and
Yeah.
really embrace becoming a lifelong learner?
So there's two sides to this. I'm going to talk about mindset first, and then I'm going to talk about lifelong learning because
Yeah.
I want to get the mindset stuff out of the way because it's really, really crucial. So one, aging is a fact of life. Old is a mindset. And it is a mindset that in a lot of people, and there's biological reasons for this, it starts to show up around age 30. And it happens, we spend our childhood being governed by the seeking system, the play system, and that's a dopamine, norepinephrine. Those are the drugs we're mostly addicted to. Childhood, in our teenage years, we start getting pro-social neurochemistry, but it's all underpinned by dopamine and norepinephrine. Around 30, you get the job that you like, or the partner you like, or you start having stuff to lose. Once that happens, you move from seeking and play to protect what I have. And you get a bunch of pro-social neurochemicals for that. Endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, these are great. But though they replace your earlier addictions and they make you very conservative, right? They make you want to protect, they make you feel safe and secure, but they also make you want to protect what you have and be conservative. If you want to thrive in the second half of your life, you have to reboot the seeking system and the play system. You have to really cultivate a positive mindset towards aging. And Ellen Langer, who's, I would say, the godmother of peak performance aging. When we talk about lifelong learning, we talk about Gene Cohen, who I think is the godfather, but Ellen Langer is definitely the godmother. And to me, you can make an argument that it starts a little bit earlier, but to me, she's the first person who shows up and says, hey, wait a minute, everything we think we know about aging is wrong. And she shows up in the 70s and does it, which is just so far ahead of her. She's an amazing researcher, but we won't go into her work too deep because we'll probably cover it on other crowdcasts than we end up doing. And we'll talk for the next hour, but she did the original work on mindset, and her work has since been really well validated. What we know is that if you have a positive mindset towards aging, meaning the second half of my life is full of possibility and amazing potential, it translates into significant health and longevity. In fact, when they tested it, and this again has been proven again and again, the Ohio longitudinal study of aging and retirement was specifically designed to test over 20 years the mindset idea that Ellen came up with and some other people came up with. At the end of that study, and this has been confirmed again and again, a positive mindset towards aging results in an extra 7.5 years of life. So it's a huge boost in longevity and huge boost in health. So having a proper mindset towards aging is fundamental. Also, because without it, right, without proper mindset towards aging is also a growth mindset. Without that growth mindset, if you have a fixed mindset around, I can't learn new things in the second half of my life, everything I'm about to say about lifelong learning is going to be worthless. On the lifelong learning tip, the godfather of peak performance aging, Gene Cohen. Gene is actually a guy in the 70s. He's, I think, the last psychiatrist drafted into Vietnam. Like last doctor who got drafted, and instead of serving in Vietnam, he ends up working in a retirement facility with veterans, and he starts running experiments and observing stuff. He's a really young psychologist, but he starts to realize that a bunch of stuff that he had been told about aging sure doesn't look right, and so he starts petitioning the National Institute of Medicine to set up a National Institute on Aging, and he becomes the first director. He runs it for 15 years. Then he goes on to another position, runs two of the biggest studies ever done on aging. And what he learns is, rather than sort of the long, slow rot, there are really cool and amazing neurobiological changes that start taking place in the brain in our 40s and 50s. So first of all, certain genes only get activated by experience. So until you have certain experiences, they're not coming on. Second of all, as we move into our 50s and into our 60s and 70s, the two sides of our brain start talking to one another like never before. And finally, around our 50s as well, the brain starts to figure out, well, okay, this real estate isn't being used at all, hasn't been used for 50 years. So I'm going to colonize it and use it for other stuff. So all these changes start to happen in our 50s. If you do certain things correctly, and we can talk about what those things are, peak performance aging, by the way, starts young. Interventions at any age seem to make a difference, but certainly if you really want to rock till you drop, there's stuff you want to start doing in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Like it really actually, it does. But if you get it right, when you get into your 50s, you get access to whole new levels of intelligence that open up, abstract reasoning, problem solving, decision making, new levels of creativity, and you start to get access to new levels of divergent thinking that's outside the box thinking. So the most difficult to train, because of brain changes, we get better at it. There's whole new levels of wisdom. And wisdom is a word you're probably going to hear a lot tonight. When I use the term wisdom, scientists define wisdom as a cluster of neurobiological traits. It's an exact thing in the brain. We know what it is. It's an exact psychological trait. And one of the cool things about wisdom is because most cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia, attacks individual parts of the brain, but not the whole brain. Wisdom is a huge, broad network, especially all across the prefrontal cortex, which is the most vulnerable structure to aging. So the more wisdom you have, it actually protects the brain against cognitive decline. It allows you to hold on to stuff that would normally go away. So one of the things, flow, by the way, amplifies wisdom. So one of the reasons flow is neuroprotective against cognitive decline is because of the relationship through wisdom. But we get more wisdom, and we also get a lot more empathy, which allows us to see things from other people's perspectives and really sort of feeds into the intelligence and feeds into the wisdom. So all of these things come on in our 50s, and according to Gene Cohn and all of his research, this makes adults better learners and better able to learn a whole bunch of stuff than younger folks. So there's really cool changes in the brain that unlock all kinds of new abilities, and they're not guaranteed. You have to get certain things right. And if you want to hold on to them, you have to do certain things to maintain them. But these abilities definitely come our way, and we can take full advantage of them.